Okay, in this video, I'm going to go through how to create a conversational form. So most people are quite aware of the idea of a form that you would see on a web page where people need to fill out some details on that form. And doing it on a web page is pretty easy to parse it, pretty easy to deal with it. The challenge comes with if we're going to put that in a chatbot and we don't want to sort of force that people have to do it in a certain way. Of course, we can just basically have simple things like, what is your name, fill in, that kind of thing. But what we're trying to do here is just make it so that the person can answer with natural conversation. They can answer multiple things at a time, so they don't just have to be limited to one field at a time in here. And we're going to basically do this with LangChain as we go through. So before I start, there are a number of ways that you could do this. There are ways that you could do it where you're using agents and you've got memory and you've got some other things like that. I'm going to be doing it with the OpenAI functions here. And we're also doing it in a way that we don't want to be calling those functions all the time. So we're setting up two chains to deal with this. And then once we've got the information that we're after, we transition to another chain for dealing with the rest of the conversation or for dealing with the next part of the conversation here. All right, so I'm just going to bring in the chat OpenAI model. I'm just using the latest one that we've got here. And here we get to the first thing that we want. So we're going to set up a Pydantic class. And you can see in this class, for this particular example, I'm going to say we want to get the first name, the last name, full name, city, email, and language that they're using here. Okay, so we run that, and now we've basically got our class that we're going to be using for this. So just to test this, we're going to be creating a tagging chain with Pydantic. And just to test this, we're going to pass in this class. We're going to set up our LLM. So to test this, I'm going to have a simple test string here. I'm going to put in, hi, my name is David Jones, and I live in Melbourne, Australia. We're going to run that through the chain, and let's see what it got out. And we can see, sure enough, it's gone and used the class, and it's returned back a class. We can see that first name is David, last name is Jones, full name is David Jones, city is Melbourne. There was no email mentioned in there, which is correct. And then the language used was English. So you can see that if it's like this, we can actually pass this kind of thing out pretty simply. We'll try another one. So in this one, it's, hi, my name is Chatri Kongsawan. I live in Bangkok. You can email me at, and then there's an email address there. And you can see, sure enough, in this case, it's passed out the first name, second name, full name, city, email, and language in this case. And the good thing of having it in a class like this is we can then basically just access it, going through something like this. You'll also find that this is pretty robust. So if I have something where you've got two emails in there and it says my email is chatri@gmail, but my brother's is Dave at Gmail, because we've defined in the Pydantic that we want the user's email, it's able to work out that, okay, this is the right email to take from these. So it won't be perfect, but whatever you're going to do for your form, you really want to define these descriptions quite nicely in here. So here's an email address that the person associates as theirs, right, in there. Okay, so we've got that done. So the next thing that we're going to be using that chain, and we're going to be using that class. And what we need to do is we need to instantiate an empty version of that class that's going to represent the user. So here I've got user123, personal details. We instantiate a version of that class. And then we can see that if we look at that class, we can see that, okay, nothing is filled out yet. So next up, we're going to have a couple of functions to basically deal with this. So the first function we want is we want a function to check what is empty. And here you're going to see that I'm going to call this the return is going to be returning ask for. And the reason for this is that we're going to use this function to basically check what is still empty on the user record, on the user class that we've instantiated there. And then this ask for, we're going to pass into a chain where the language model is going to know what it should be asking for. So if, for example, the only thing that was left out here was email, then it would ask for email, right? So that's the idea that we're going with this. So this is the first function that we've got for that. The second function we want to basically use is for checking the response back from our filtering chain and being able to fill out our user details class in there. So you can see now I've basically got the response back that I got up earlier on. I pass this into add non-empty details, and we can see now it's basically taken that email that we got in the last example that we had, and it's used it to fill out this. So if I try this again with another one, you can see that, okay, now it's gone and actually filled out all the details that, came back. So we've got the name, we've got the city, we've got the email there. All right, and then we can check for what is empty, and this time we get nothing back because there's nothing empty anymore. So if it was just one field that was empty, it would basically go through it and do that. So now we've got the filtering chain for creating the tagging and extracting things out. And we've got our functions for basically creating or instantiating a user record and comparing the responses back to that user record, and a function for knowing what to ask. So next up, we need basically a chain. So I'm going to instantiate a new user record there. And we're going to create a chain that's going to deal with this ask for. So you can see here that we've basically, our chain is going to be, okay, below are some things to ask the user for in a conversation way. You should only ask one question at a time. You don't want it, if we don't have this in there, we'll tend to get the language model saying, okay, give me 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's not really conversational, right? So what we do is basically say, okay, you should only ask one question at a time, even if you don't get all the info. So we're not expecting that the bot's going to get all the info back in one time. This is going to be a loop that we're going to run through. Don't ask as a list. And what I mean by that is if you don't put this in, because we're actually passing in a list to here, and we don't want it to say, okay, give me first name, last name, full name, that kind of thing. We also don't want it to say hi. So because I'm not using a memory here, the tendency of this will be each time it'll say, hi, can you tell me a bit about where you live, or something like that. Now, we don't want it to be each time, hi, can you tell me a bit about where you live, or hi, can you tell me your first name? Hi, can you tell me, right? So that's why I've basically taken that out. And you can play with this prompt a lot yourself. Explain you need to get some info. If the ask for list is empty, then thank them and ask them how you can help them. And then we're passing in the ask for list there. So that's our prompt. We're basically setting this up with an LLM chain here. And I'm just going to call this the sort of info gathering prompt, or so the info gathering chain there. So now I've got my two chains done. I'm going to have like a filter response. So the filter response basically is just going to take the user input and the user class of their details. It's going to basically create the tagging chain and then run through that. And then we're going to basically run those functions to fill out the user details and to check what's still empty. And then we're going to pass back the user details and the ask for the next turn. So let's have a look at this. First off, we know that, okay, the ask for is empty, right? So it's going to not know anything about us. First, I'm going to say, okay, my name is Sam. So now we're just passing in this text input and the user record that we instantiated. I pass this in. And you can see that, okay, it's basically got my name, the first name, but it hasn't got last name, hasn't got full name, hasn't got city, hasn't got email yet for this. So now this is just a simple sort of thing where we're going to basically get it to go through and ask for again if this is not empty. So now it says, okay, can I have your last name, please? Okay, so now I'm going to give it my last name, and actually I'm giving it my full name at the same time. Let me just get some space there. So I say, okay, my name is Witteveen, Sam Witteveen. Okay, so now it's gone through and filtered, and it's now saying, okay, well, we've got all the names. We're just missing the city, and we're just missing the email for this. So when we run this loop again now, it should ask for one of those. And you can see, sure enough, now it says, can you provide me with the name of the city you're currently located in? And if I say, okay, sure, I mostly live in Singapore. And so now it's basically extracted that out. And if we go and run this again, it should ask us for email. And notice that this is dynamic. So if I had gone and filled these in the opposite order, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter the order that I've put these in. It's going to ask for whatever is empty in this ask for list here that we're passing in here. So you can see here, the empty one was email. So that's why it's asked for, can I please have your email address? So I give it my email address, and now we should basically get everything we've gone through. This has no longer got anything in it. It's empty. If we just come and have a look at the ask for, we can see, okay, there's 0 items in there. So it basically skips this process totally and just goes on to the next phase here. So you would use this for basically gathering some information, and then once you've gone through this, you would transition out to another set of chains or another sort of part of your conversation. And you can then basically store this. So if we come up and look at our user details that we got back, we can see, sure enough, now the user details has got my name, my last name, my full name, city Singapore, my email, and language English for doing this. And so obviously here I can come in and access any of these. So this is where I would, save these to a database. And then the next time the user comes back, I would use that for basically talking to them. So this might be something like if you use it for, if someone's asking about weather, you know what city they're in, to basically just automatically look up the weather. So this is how you would populate a user profile that you could use for a variety of different tasks. You have the email if you wanted to basically email someone on a chat or something. And the cool thing is you've done this and you've gotten this information in a conversational way. So there's no sort of feeling of like that this was forced or anything. And the other thing too is we could actually have it so that, if they answer something different, if we want to sort of add some humor into this prompt or something, we could add something in that, okay, if they don't give an answer, or if they answer something different, just treat it like it's a normal conversation in here. So that's something you can play around with. Anyway, this is just a simple video to show you how to build a conversational form that you can then pass using the OpenAI functions. We could have used React for this as well. And then basically how to use sort of alternating chains to go where one chain is actually dealing with the user and then the back-end chain is just for filtering through that, so that we're not wasting tokens. We don't want to be calling the OpenAI functions part all the time and waste a lot of tokens for that. So you would just go through this. Once you've gone through it, you then move on to the next stage of the conversation. Anyway, as always, if you've got questions, please put them in the comments below. If you like the video, please click like and subscribe. I will talk to you in the next video. Bye for now.